He stood at that wedding altar in his perfectly tailored suit, watching the bridesmaids walk down the aisle, and when he saw her, beautiful, graceful, radiant in white, he whispered a prayer he'd spend months regretting. Please not her. Ethan Hale didn't know that the black woman he prayed against would become the love of his life, or that falling for Jasmine Cole would force him to choose between the comfortable prejudice his family had fed him and the terrifying courage it takes to love someone the world says you shouldn't. What started as silent bias at a coastal wedding turned into late-night confessions, family dinners that cut like knives, and a mother's words that nearly destroyed everything. But here's what Ethan didn't see coming. Jasmine wasn't waiting around for him to figure out his heart, and the moment he almost lost her would change him forever. This is the story of a man who prayed for easy and got exactly what he needed instead. Subscribe and comment below if you've ever had to choose between comfort and the person who changed your life, because this journey will wreck you in the best way possible. The mirror showed Ethan exactly what he wanted to see: a clean-shaven face, sharp suit, and the kind of smile that didn't give anything away. He adjusted his bow tie one more time and took a deep breath. "You got this," he whispered to his reflection. The Carolina coast was beautiful this time of year. Warm sun, cool breeze, the kind of weather that made weddings feel magical. Mark, his college roommate, was getting married today at a small inn right on the beach. Ethan was proud to be a groomsman. He'd helped Mark pick out the rings 3 months ago. But there was one problem. His sister Clara had set him up with one of the bridesmaids, a blind date at a wedding. Ethan hated blind dates. They were awkward. They came with expectations. And this one came with Clara's voice in his head from last week. "Just trust me, okay? She's perfect for you. You're going to thank me." He didn't want to be ungrateful. Clara meant well. She always did. But perfect? That word made him nervous. What did perfect even mean? Ethan walked out of his room and headed downstairs to the ceremony area. White chairs lined up in neat rows on the lawn. Flowers everywhere. Roses and something purple he couldn't name. The ocean stretched out behind everything, blue and endless. Guests were already arriving. Women in pastel dresses, men in suits. Everyone smiling and hugging. Ethan found his spot with the other groomsmen. Mark was pacing near the arch, grinning like a kid on Christmas morning. "You good, man?" Ethan asked. "Never better," Mark said. "This is the best day of my life." Ethan smiled. He was happy for his friend. Really happy. Mark had found someone who loved him completely. That was rare. The music started. Everyone stood. The bridesmaids began their walk down the aisle, one by one. Pink dresses that matched the roses. Smiles that lit up the whole ceremony. And then Ethan saw her. She walked with her head high and her shoulders back. Her dress wasn't pink like the others. It was a soft white, almost cream-colored, and it flowed when she moved. Her skin was a rich, warm brown that caught the sunlight. Her hair was pulled back in an elegant twist, and small flowers dotted the dark curls. She was beautiful. Ethan's stomach dropped. "Please not her," he whispered under his breath. "Please not her." He didn't mean it to sound cruel. It wasn't even about her, really. It was about him, about what people would think, about what his mother would say, about how complicated things would get. The woman, his blind date, he was sure of it now, walked closer. Her eyes swept over the crowd, calm and confident. When she reached the front, she took her place across from where Ethan stood. Their eyes met for just a second. His chest tightened. He looked away quickly. The bride came next, and everyone turned to watch. The ceremony was beautiful. Mark cried. The bride cried. Even Ethan felt his throat get tight during the vows, but the whole time he could feel her standing there, just a few feet away, and he hated that he'd prayed against her. The reception hall glowed with string lights and candles. Music played softly in the background. Round tables covered in white cloth filled the room. People laughed and clinked glasses. Ethan stood near the bar, nursing a glass of water. He was supposed to give a toast in 20 minutes. He'd practiced it 3 times that morning, but right now all he could think about was avoiding his sister. Too late. "There you are." Clara appeared at his elbow, her smile way too bright. "Come on, I want you to meet someone." "Clara, no excuses. You promised." She grabbed his arm and pulled him through the crowd. Ethan's heart raced. He knew exactly who she was dragging him toward. And there she was, standing near one of the tables, talking to another bridesmaid. She laughed at something, and the sound was warm and genuine. When she saw Clara coming, she turned. "Jasmine," Clara said, still gripping Ethan's arm like he might run. "This is my brother, Ethan. Ethan, "This is Jasmine Cole." Jasmine smiled. It was polite but careful, like she was reading him already. "Nice to meet you," she said, holding out her hand. Ethan shook it. Her hand was soft and warm. "Yeah, you too." His voice sounded stiff, even to his own ears. "Jasmine's a teacher's aide," Clara said, filling the silence. "She works with second graders, isn't that sweet?" "It's a living," Jasmine said lightly. She looked at Ethan. "Clara's told me you're an architect." "Yeah," he nodded. "I design buildings. Commercial stuff mostly." "That's cool." Another silence. Clara's smile faltered just a little. "Well, I'll let you two talk. I need to check on the cake." She disappeared into the crowd. Jasmine and Ethan stood there, awkward and uncertain. "So," Jasmine said finally, "blind date at a wedding. Pretty classic setup, huh?" Ethan tried to smile. "Yeah. Clara's nothing if not predictable. She means well." "She does." Jasmine tilted her head slightly, studying him. "You look like you'd rather be anywhere else." "No, it's not. It's fine." Her voice was kind but firm. "I'm not going to force small talk if you're not interested." She turned to walk away. "Wait." The word came out before Ethan could stop it. Jasmine paused. "I'm sorry," Ethan said quietly. "I'm just not great at this. Blind dates, meeting new people. It's not you." She looked at him for a long moment. Then she nodded. "Okay." "Okay?" "Yeah, okay." She smiled just a little. "But if you're going to be weird all night, at least try to be interesting weird. Not boring weird." Ethan laughed. He couldn't help it. It surprised him. Jasmine's smile grew. "There you go. That's better." She walked away then, her white dress swaying as she moved toward the dance floor. Ethan watched her go, and he felt something unexpected stir in his chest. Something like regret. The music shifted. A slow song started playing. Couples drifted onto the dance floor, swaying together under the lights. Ethan stood near the edge, half hidden behind a column. He'd given his toast. It went fine. People clapped. Mark hugged him and said it was perfect. Now he just wanted to disappear. But Clara found him again. "Dance with her," she said, pointing across the room. Jasmine stood near the other bridesmaids, chatting and laughing. She looked relaxed, happy. "Clara, one dance. That's all I'm asking. You owe me." "I don't owe you a dance. You owe me for the time I covered for you when you broke Mom's favorite vase, and for the time I drove 4 hours to pick you up when your car broke down, and for—" "Okay, okay." Ethan sighed. "One dance." Clara beamed. "That's my brother." She practically dragged him across the room. Jasmine saw them coming and raised an eyebrow. "One dance," Clara said to both of them. "Just one, please." Jasmine looked at Ethan. "You don't have to." "It's fine," Ethan said quietly. "If you want to." She hesitated. Then she nodded. "Sure, why not?" Clara vanished again, grinning like she'd just won the lottery. Ethan and Jasmine stepped onto the dance floor. He placed one hand lightly on her waist. She rested her hand on his shoulder. They started to sway. It was awkward at first. Ethan kept his movements stiff and formal. Jasmine didn't say anything, but he could feel her watching him. "You look like you're doing math," she said finally. Ethan blinked. "What?" "In your head. You look like you're calculating something." He laughed. He couldn't help it. It was the second time she'd made him laugh tonight. I'm not a great dancer." "You're doing fine," she smiled. "Relax. It's just a dance." Ethan tried. He loosened his shoulders, stopped counting steps, just moved, and it got easier. "So," Jasmine said, "how do you know Mark?" "College roommates. We lived together for 3 years. He was terrible at doing dishes. And yet you're still friends." "He made up for it by being a good guy." "What about you? How do you know the bride?" "Emily and I went to high school together. She was my lab partner in chemistry. We almost blew up the classroom once." Ethan raised his eyebrows. "On purpose?" "No, we mixed the wrong chemicals. The teacher wasn't happy." "I bet." They smiled at each other, and for the first time all night, the tension eased. Nearby, Clara stood with her husband, holding her phone. She aimed it at them and snapped a picture. The camera caught them mid-laugh, faces lit up, looking at each other like the rest of the room had disappeared. She posted it online immediately. Caption, "My favorite new match." Neither Ethan nor Jasmine noticed. Later that night, after the cake was cut and the bouquet was thrown, the guests drifted outside. Someone had built a bonfire on the beach. People gathered around it, talking and laughing. The flames danced against the dark sky. Ethan needed air. He'd spent the last hour making polite conversation with relatives he barely knew. His face hurt from smiling. He walked down to the beach, away from the bonfire. The ocean stretched out in front of him, endless and dark. Waves crashed softly against the shore, and then he saw her. Jasmine sat on the sand, her white dress pulled around her. She wasn't wearing her shoes anymore. Her feet were bare. She stared out at the water, quiet and still. Ethan hesitated. He could walk away, go back to the inn, avoid making this any more complicated. But he didn't. He walked toward her. "Mind if I sit?" Jasmine looked up, surprised. Then she shrugged. "It's a free beach." He sat down a few feet away, keeping a respectful distance. For a while they didn't say anything, just listened to the waves. "Long night?" Jasmine asked finally. "Yeah, same." Ethan glanced at her. "You seemed like you were having fun." "I was. But weddings are exhausting. All that happiness, it's a lot." He smiled. "That's a weird thing to say." "Is it?" She looked at him. "Don't get me wrong. I love weddings. I love seeing people in love. But sometimes it makes you think about your own life, your own choices." Ethan nodded slowly. He understood that more than he wanted to admit. "What about you?" Jasmine asked. "Why are you hiding out here?" "I'm not hiding." "Sure you are." He laughed softly. "Okay, maybe a little. I'm not great with crowds." "Then why agree to be a groomsman?" "Because Mark's my friend. You show up for your friends." "That's fair." She smiled. "You're a good friend then." They fell quiet again. "Can I ask you something?" Ethan said. "Sure." "Earlier when we met, you said I looked like I wanted to be anywhere else." "Yeah. Was I that obvious?" Jasmine turned to look at him. Her eyes were serious now. "Yeah, you were." Ethan felt his chest tighten. "I'm sorry. That wasn't fair to you." "No, it wasn't." She paused. "But I get it." "You do?" "Sure. Blind dates are weird, especially at weddings. There's all this pressure, and maybe you were expecting someone else." "It's not—" Ethan stopped. He didn't know how to explain without sounding worse. "It's okay," Jasmine said quietly. "I've been in situations before where someone didn't want to be seen with me. I know what it looks like." Ethan's stomach twisted. "That's not—" "It's fine." She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "Really, I just appreciate honesty." "Jasmine, tell me something," she said, changing the subject. "What do you love about what you do? Architecture, I mean." Ethan blinked at the shift, but he followed her lead. "I love creating something that lasts. Buildings stand for decades. People use them every day. There's something meaningful about that. That's beautiful. What about you? Why teaching? Kids are honest, they don't pretend. If they like you, they tell you. If they don't, they tell you that too. It's refreshing." Ethan smiled. "I can see that." They talked for another hour. About childhood, about dreams, about places they wanted to visit. Jasmine told him about growing up in a small town, about her dad being a history teacher, about how she loved old movies. Ethan told her about learning to draw buildings when he was 10, about his sister always looking out for him, about how he'd never been good at taking risks. "Why not?" Jasmine asked. "I don't know. I guess I was raised to play it safe. Stay in your lane. Don't rock the boat." "That sounds boring." "It is," Ethan admitted. "But it's comfortable." "Comfort isn't always good," Jasmine said softly. "Sometimes it's just another word for distance." Ethan looked at her, really looked at her, and he felt something shift inside him, something he didn't have words for yet. "I should go," Jasmine said, standing up and brushing sand off her dress. "Early morning tomorrow." "Yeah, me too." They walked back toward the inn together. The bonfire was dying down. Most of the guests had gone to bed. At the door to her room, Jasmine turned. "Thanks for the talk." "Yeah, thank you." She smiled. A real smile this time. "You're not as boring weird as I thought you'd be." Ethan laughed. "I'll take that as a compliment." "You should." She opened her door and stepped inside. The door closed softly behind her. Ethan stood there for a moment staring at the wood, and he realized something that made his chest ache. He wanted to see her again. Morning sunlight streamed through the windows of the inn's breakfast room. Ethan sat alone at a small table, scrolling through his phone. His coffee was cold. He hadn't touched his toast. His phone kept buzzing. Notifications, comments, likes. The photo Clara had taken of him and Jasmine was everywhere, all over social media. Tagged, shared, reposted. They looked so cute together. Is this Ethan's girlfriend? Adorable. Ethan's stomach churned. He deleted the tag. Then his phone rang. "Mom." He closed his eyes and answered. "Hey, Mom." "Ethan." Her voice was tight, controlled. "I saw you dancing with that woman. Her name is Jasmine. I don't care what her name is. What were you thinking?" "It was just a dance." Clara set it up. Clara needs to mind her own business, his mother sighed. People are talking, Ethan. Your cousins, your co-workers, everyone's asking questions. So let them ask. Don't be difficult. You know how this looks. Ethan's jaw clenched. How does it look? You know exactly what I mean. He did. He hated that he did. I need to go, Ethan said quietly. Ethan. He hung up. His hands shook. Shame crawled up his throat. He set the phone down and stared at the table. Across the room, near the coffee station, Jasmine stood with her friend Tanya. They were laughing about something. Jasmine looked bright and happy, the morning sun catching her face. She glanced over and caught Ethan looking. He looked away immediately. Jasmine's smile faded. She said something to Tanya, then turned and walked out of the breakfast room. Ethan watched her go, and he hated himself for it. Jasmine and Tanya drove home that afternoon. The radio played softly. The windows were down. The Carolina coast disappeared behind them. You okay? Tanya asked. I'm fine. You don't look fine. Jasmine stared out the window. It's nothing. Just blind dates are stupid. What happened? Nothing. That's the problem. Tanya glanced at her. Did he say something? No, he didn't say anything. That's what bothers me. Jasmine sighed. We talked last night. Really talked. And it felt good. But this morning he looked at me like I was a stranger. Maybe he's just awkward. Maybe. Jasmine closed her eyes. Or maybe I'm just tired of being someone's secret. Tanya reached over and squeezed her hand. You deserve better than that. I know. They drove in silence for a while. You know what? Jasmine said finally. I'm done. Done hoping. Done waiting. If someone can't see my worth, that's their loss. That's my girl. Jasmine smiled, but it felt heavy. Monday morning. Ethan sat at his desk, staring at blueprints he couldn't focus on. His office was quiet. Too quiet. He kept checking his phone, no messages. Clara walked in without knocking. She dropped into the chair across from him and crossed her arms. You're an idiot, she said. Good morning to you too. I'm serious. You and Jasmine were perfect together. What happened? Nothing happened. Exactly, that's the problem. Clara leaned forward. She's smart. She's kind. She's beautiful. And you prayed wrong. Ethan looked up sharply. What? At the wedding. When she walked down the aisle. You prayed she wasn't the one I set you up with. Clara's voice was soft now. I saw your face, Ethan. I know you. Ethan's throat tightened. Clara, your problem isn't her. It's you. She stood up and walked to the door. Then she stopped and looked back. Fix it, she said, before it's too late. She left. Ethan sat there for a long time, the blueprints blurred in front of him. He pulled out his phone and opened his photo app. There it was, the picture Clara had posted. Him and Jasmine laughing together, looking at each other like nothing else mattered. He stared at it until his eyes hurt, and he realized Clara was right. His problem wasn't Jasmine, it was him. 2 days later, Ethan sat in his car outside Lincoln Elementary School. His hands gripped the steering wheel. He'd driven here 3 times in the past hour. Each time he'd circled the block and kept going. This time he turned off the engine. The school was small and old-fashioned. Red brick, green doors, a playground with swings and slides. Kids were outside for recess, running and screaming with that kind of joy only children had. Ethan got out of the car. His dress shoes felt wrong on the asphalt. He wasn't sure what he was doing here. Wasn't sure what he'd say. He just knew he needed to see her. A group of second graders ran past him chasing a soccer ball. Near the fence he spotted her. Jasmine sat on a bench with a little girl who was crying. She wiped the girl's tears gently and spoke quietly. The girl nodded, sniffling. Then Jasmine pulled out a Band-Aid from her pocket and placed it carefully on the girl's scraped knee. The little girl hugged her. Jasmine hugged back, her whole face soft with kindness. Ethan's chest tightened. She was so patient, so genuine, and he'd treated her like she was something to be ashamed of. The bell rang. Kids rushed toward the doors. Jasmine stood up, holding the little girl's hand as they walked inside together. Ethan waited, leaned against his car, tried to figure out what to say. 20 minutes later, she walked out. She had a bag over her shoulder and her phone in her hand. She was texting someone, smiling at whatever message she'd received. Then she looked up and saw him. Her smile disappeared. She stopped walking. Ethan pushed off the car and took a few steps toward her. Hi, what are you doing here? Her voice was careful, guarded. I wanted to talk to you. About what? About the wedding. About how I acted. Jasmine adjusted her bag on her shoulder. You don't owe me an explanation. Yes, I do. She studied him for a moment. Then she sighed. I'm heading to get coffee. You can walk with me if you want. Okay. They walked side by side down the sidewalk. The afternoon sun was warm. The street was quiet. Jasmine didn't say anything, and Ethan didn't know where to start. "I'm sorry," he said finally, "for Saturday morning, for ignoring you at breakfast. You weren't ignoring me. You were avoiding me. There's a difference." "You're right." Ethan shoved his hands in his pockets. "I was avoiding you, and that was wrong." "Why? Why was it wrong?" "No. Why did you avoid me?" Ethan swallowed hard. This was the part he'd been dreading, the honest part. "Because I was scared," he said quietly, "of what people would think, of what my mother would say, of how complicated things might get." Jasmine stopped walking. She turned to face him. "Complicated because I'm black." It wasn't a question. Ethan met her eyes. "Yes." She nodded slowly. "At least you're honest. I'm not proud of it." "I didn't ask if you were proud. I asked why you avoided me." She started walking again. "And now I know." "Jasmine, wait." Ethan caught up to her. "I know it's not an excuse. I know I messed up, but Friday night when we talked on the beach, that was real. I wasn't pretending." "Maybe not. But you weren't brave enough to follow through either." The words stung because they were true. They reached a small cafe on the corner. Jasmine pushed open the door and walked inside. Ethan followed. The cafe was cozy. Mismatched chairs, local art on the walls, the smell of fresh coffee and cinnamon rolls. They ordered at the counter. Jasmine got a latte, Ethan got black coffee, and sat at a table by the window. "So what do you want from me?" Jasmine asked, wrapping her hands around her cup. "I want a chance to do better." "Why?" "Because you deserve better, and because I can't stop thinking about you." Jasmine raised an eyebrow. "That's a line." "It's the truth." She sipped her latte, watching him over the rim. "I've been here before, you know. With someone who liked me in private but couldn't handle me in public. It didn't end well. I'm not him. Maybe not. But you're scared of the same things he was." Ethan leaned forward. "You're right. I am scared, but I'm here anyway. That has to count for something." Jasmine was quiet for a long moment. Then she set down her cup. "If this is just curiosity, don't call again. I'm not a social experiment. I'm not here to teach you how to be a better person. That's not what this is." "Then what is it?" "I don't know yet," Ethan admitted. "But I want to find out." She searched his face, looking for something. Maybe honesty, maybe courage. Finally she nodded. "One more chance, that's it." "Okay. And if you disappoint me again, I'm done. No second chances after this." "I understand." They finished their coffee and talked about easier things. Her students, his latest project at work, the weather. Small, safe topics that didn't cut too deep. When they left the cafe, the sun was starting to set. Orange and pink streaked across the sky. "I should get home," Jasmine said. "Can I call you tonight?" She hesitated. Then she smiled just a little. "Yeah, you can call." Ethan felt something in his chest loosen. Relief, hope, maybe both. They parted ways at the corner. As Jasmine walked away, she looked back once. Ethan was still standing there, watching her go. This time, he didn't look away. That night, Ethan called. They talked for 2 hours. About childhood memories, about favorite movies, about places they dreamed of traveling to. Jasmine told him about her dad teaching her how to fish when she was 8, about how she'd cried the first time she caught one because it looked sad. Ethan told her about designing his first building at age 10, a treehouse that fell apart after 2 weeks, about how Clara had helped him rebuild it and never told their parents it collapsed. They laughed together. Easy and natural. Before they hung up, Ethan asked, "Can I see you again Saturday?" "Where?" "The pier, by the marina. We could walk and get lunch." "Okay," Jasmine said softly. Saturday. Saturday arrived with wind and grey clouds. Ethan stood on the pier, hands in his jacket pockets. The ocean was choppy today. Waves crashed against the wooden posts below. He checked his phone. 5 minutes until they were supposed to meet. Then he saw her. Jasmine walked toward him wearing jeans and a light jacket. Her hair was loose today, curls bouncing with each step. She smiled when she reached him. "Hey," she said. "Hey." Ethan smiled back. "I was worried you'd cancel. The weather's not great." A little wind never hurt anyone. They started walking along the pier. Seagulls circled overhead. A few fishermen sat with their lines in the water, patient and still. "I love it out here," Jasmine said. "It's peaceful. Even when it's grey? Especially when it's grey. Everyone expects sunshine to be beautiful, but I think there's something honest about grey days. No pretending." Ethan glanced at her. "You have a way of making simple things sound deep." "My dad used to say that. He's big on finding meaning in everything. He sounds wise. He is. Stubborn, but wise. They bought tacos from a food truck and sat on a bench overlooking the water. The wind whipped Jasmine's hair around her face. She laughed and tried to tuck it behind her ears. "Tell me something you're afraid of," Ethan said suddenly. Jasmine looked at him surprised. "That's a random question. You said the beach was honest. Grey days don't pretend. So let's not pretend either." She considered this. Then she set down her taco. "I'm afraid of wasting time on people who don't see my value. I'm afraid of settling because I'm tired of being alone. I'm afraid that I'm too much or not enough, depending on who's looking." Ethan's throat felt tight. "You're not too much. How do you know?" "Because I'm sitting here wishing I was more like you." Jasmine turned to face him fully. "Your turn. What are you afraid of?" "Discomfort," Ethan said quietly. "I was raised to avoid it. Keep your head down, don't make waves, don't stand out, and now I'm 33, and I realize I've spent my whole life taking the easy road." "That's not comfort," Jasmine said softly. "That's distance." The same words she'd said at the wedding, but this time they hit harder. Ethan looked at her, really looked at her, and he felt something crack open inside him, something that had been locked for a long time. "I'm tired of distance," he whispered. Jasmine held his gaze. "Then stop choosing it." They sat there as the wind picked up and the sky grew darker, and Ethan felt like he was standing at the edge of something. A cliff, a choice. He could step back into safety, or he could jump. The following week, Clara invited them both to dinner. Her house was warm and cozy. Candles on the table, soft music playing. Her husband, Michael, was a chef, and he'd made pasta from scratch. "This is amazing," Jasmine said, twirling spaghetti on her fork. "Michael's the real talent in this family," Clara said, grinning at her husband. "Don't let her fool you," Michael said. "She can barely boil water, but she's great at everything else." They all laughed. The evening felt light, easy, like maybe this could work. Then Ethan's phone rang. He glanced at the screen. "Mum." His stomach dropped. "I should take this," he said, standing up. "I'll be right back." He stepped into the hallway, closing the door behind him. "Hey, Mum." "Ethan, how are you?" "I'm good. I'm at Clara's for dinner." "Oh, that's nice. Is it just the three of you?" Ethan hesitated. Through the door, he could hear Jasmine laughing at something Michael said. "Yeah," he lied. "Just us." "Good. I wanted to talk to you about Thanksgiving. Your Aunt Margaret is coming, and she's bringing someone for you to meet. A nice girl from her church. Very sweet. Very appropriate." "Mum, I'm not interested." "Just meet her, Ethan. That's all I'm asking." He sighed. "Fine, I'll meet her. Thank you, sweetheart. I'll let you get back to dinner." She hung up. Ethan stood in the hallway, staring at his phone. He felt sick. When he came back to the table, Jasmine was looking at him. Her expression was unreadable. "Everything okay?" Clara asked. "Yeah, fine." But Jasmine didn't say anything. She pushed her pasta around her plate, suddenly quiet. The rest of dinner felt strained. Jasmine excused herself early, saying she had work to prepare for Monday. Ethan offered to walk her to her car. Outside, the night was cool. Jasmine unlocked her car but didn't get in. "You called me someone you met," she said quietly. Ethan froze. "You heard that?" The door was open. "I heard enough." "Jasmine, it's fine." She turned to face him. "I get it, you're not ready. And that's okay. But I told you, I won't be anyone's secret." "You're not a secret." "Then what am I?" Ethan didn't have an answer. Jasmine nodded slowly. "That's what I thought." She got in her car and drove away. Ethan stood in the driveway, watching her taillights disappear, and he hated himself all over again. The next morning, Ethan found Jasmine at a small park near her apartment. She sat on a bench throwing pieces of bread to a group of ducks. "Jasmine." She didn't look at him. "What do you want, Ethan?" "To apologize." "You're always apologizing." "I know." He sat down beside her, keeping some space between them. "And I hate that. I hate that I keep hurting you." "Then stop." "I'm trying." Jasmine finally looked at him. Her eyes were sad, tired. "Are you?" "Yes. Because it doesn't feel like trying. It feels like you're stuck between two worlds. And I'm not going to wait around while you figure out which one you want to live in." Ethan's chest ached. "I don't want to lose you." "Then show me." Jasmine's voice was firm now. "Stop hiding me. Stop being ashamed. Or let me go so I can find someone who isn't. I'm not ashamed of you. You're ashamed of what people will think. That's the same thing." They sat in silence. The ducks waddled closer, hoping for more bread. "I'm scared," Ethan admitted finally. "I'm scared of disappointing my family. Scared of what people at work will say, scared of failing you. Being scared is okay, Jasmine said softly, but using fear as an excuse isn't. She stood up and faced him. I won't be anyone's secret, Ethan. I've been there before, and I promised myself I'd never go back. I understand. Do you? Yes. Jasmine reached out and took his hand. It was the first time she'd touched him since the wedding. Her hand was warm and steady. I like you, she said quietly. More than I probably should, but I like myself more, and I won't shrink to make you comfortable. Ethan looked down at their hands. You shouldn't have to. No, I shouldn't. She squeezed his hand once, then let go. So figure out what you want, and when you know, call me. She walked away, leaving him alone with the ducks and his regrets. But this time, Ethan didn't let her go completely. He pulled out his phone and texted her before she even reached her car. I want you, not someday. Now I'm going to do better, I promise. Jasmine read the message. She looked back at him across the park. Then she smiled, just a little, and she texted back, prove it. Ethan proved it. The next weekend, he took her to an art fair downtown. Tents filled the streets, showcasing paintings, sculptures, handmade jewelry. Live music played on a corner stage. They walked hand in hand. No hesitation, no hiding. People looked. Some smiled, some didn't. Ethan felt his mother's voice in his head, sharp and disapproving. He ignored it. This one's beautiful, Jasmine said, stopping at a booth with landscape paintings. She pointed to a piece showing the ocean at sunset. You should get it, Ethan said. It's $200. So I'm a teacher's aide. That's groceries for a month. Ethan smiled. What if I bought it for you? Then I'd say you're trying too hard. Maybe I am. Jasmine laughed. Come on, let's keep walking. They turned a corner and nearly ran into Clara and Michael. Ethan! Clara's face lit up. Jasmine, what are you two doing here? Just looking around, Jasmine said. Us too. Michael's trying to find a sculpture for his office. Clara grinned. You guys should come with us. Make it a group thing. Michael smiled warmly. The more, the merrier. They spent the afternoon together. Clara and Jasmine talked about teaching. Clara was a high school counselor. Michael and Ethan debated whether modern art was genius or nonsense. It felt normal, easy, like this was how things should be. As the sun started to set, the fair lights came on. String bulbs crisscrossed overhead, glowing softly. Music shifted to something slow and jazzy. Ethan and Jasmine stood near a fountain watching street performers juggle fire. Thank you for today, Jasmine said. For what? For not hiding. For introducing me to your sister and Michael like it was the most natural thing in the world. Ethan turned to face her. It should be natural, but it wasn't before. No, it wasn't. He reached up and tucked a curl behind her ear. I'm sorry it took me so long. Jasmine's eyes softened. You're here now. That matters. Ethan leaned in slowly, giving her time to pull away if she wanted. She didn't. He kissed her. It was soft and tentative at first, then deeper. Jasmine's hand came up to rest on his chest. Ethan pulled her closer, feeling the rest of the world disappear. When they finally pulled apart, Jasmine was smiling. That was a good kiss, she said. Yeah? Yeah. They stood there under the lights, holding each other, and for the first time in weeks Ethan felt like he could breathe, but the peace didn't last. 2 weeks later, Clara arranged a family dinner. She wanted their mother to meet Jasmine properly, not in passing, not through photos. In person. It'll be fine, Clara promised Ethan over the phone. Mum's been better lately, more open-minded. Ethan wasn't convinced, but he agreed. The dinner was at Clara's house. Mrs. Hale arrived early, perfectly dressed in a cream sweater and pearls. She hugged Clara and Michael, then turned to Ethan. You look thin, she said. Are you eating? I'm fine, Mum. The doorbell rang. Ethan's heart raced. He opened the door. Jasmine stood there in a simple blue dress, her hair pulled back. She looked beautiful and nervous. Hi, she said. Hi. Ethan took her hand and squeezed it. You ready? As I'll ever be. They walked into the dining room together. Mrs. Hale stood by the table, arranging flowers. She looked up when they entered. Her smile was polite, practiced. You must be Jasmine, she said. I am. It's nice to meet you, Mrs. Hale. Please, call me Margaret. She gestured to the table. Sit. Dinner's almost ready. They sat. Clara and Michael filled the silence with cheerful chatter. Ethan tried to relax, but his shoulders stayed tense. Mrs. Hale asked Jasmine questions. Where she grew up, where she went to school, what her parents did. Jasmine answered calmly, her voice steady. A teacher's aide, Mrs. Hale said, sipping her wine. That's sweet. You must have a lot of patience. I love working with kids, Jasmine said. They're honest and curious. It keeps you grounded. I'm sure it does, Mrs. Hale smiled. And your father's a retired history teacher, how quaint. Jasmine's jaw tightened, but she smiled. He loves it. He still volunteers at the library, teaching reading programs. That's very admirable. The words were kind, but the tone wasn't. Ethan saw it. Clara saw it. Even Michael looked uncomfortable. Mum, Clara said gently, tell Jasmine about your garden club. She loves gardening. Do you? Mrs. Hale turned to Jasmine. It's such a peaceful hobby. I do. My dad taught me when I was young. Well, you certainly have poise. That's important. The word hung in the air. Poise. Like it was something unexpected. Something Jasmine had to prove. Jasmine's smile didn't waver. Thank you. But Ethan saw the hurt flash in her eyes. Brief but real. Dinner ended politely. Mrs. Hale complimented the food, thanked Clara, kissed Ethan's cheek as she left. She didn't hug Jasmine, just nodded and said, "Lovely to meet you, dear." When the door closed, the house felt heavy with silence. "I'm sorry," Clara said to Jasmine. She's from a different generation." "It's okay," Jasmine said softly. "Really?" But it wasn't okay. Ethan could see it on her face. He drove her home. They didn't talk much. Jasmine stared out the window, her hands folded in her lap. When they reached her apartment, Ethan turned off the engine. "I'm sorry," he said. "She shouldn't have—" "It's fine." "It's not fine." "Ethan," Jasmine looked at him, "your mother doesn't scare me. I've dealt with people like her before. But your silence does. I didn't know what to say. That's the problem." Her voice was gentle but firm. "You're getting better, but you're not there yet. I'll talk to her. Will you?" "Yes." Jasmine nodded. She leaned over and kissed his cheek. "I believe you." She got out of the car and walked to her door. Ethan watched until she was safely inside. Then he sat there in the dark, knowing exactly what he had to do. The next morning, Ethan drove to his mother's house. He didn't call first, didn't give himself time to change his mind. The house was exactly as he remembered from childhood, white with blue shutters, a perfect lawn, flower beds arranged just so, everything in its place. His mother answered the door in a gardening apron, pruning shears in hand. "Ethan, what a surprise." She smiled. "I was just trimming the roses. Come in, sweetheart. We need to talk." Her smile faltered. "About what?" "About Jasmine. About last night." Mrs. Hale set down her pruning shears and led him into the living room. Everything was pristine here, too. White couches, glass tables, not a pillow out of place. They sat across from each other. "I thought dinner went well," his mother said carefully. "It didn't. Ethan, you were rude to her, Mom. Subtle, but rude. And you know it." Mrs. Hale's expression hardened. "I was perfectly polite. You were condescending. You treated her like she had to prove herself worthy of sitting at your table. That's not fair, isn't it?" Ethan leaned forward. "You complimented her poise like it was surprising. You called Dad's career quaint. You looked at her like she didn't belong. I did no such thing. You did. And I sat there and let it happen." His mother stood up and walked to the window. Her back was stiff, defensive. "I only want what's best for you," she said quietly. "No, you want what's comfortable for you." She turned around, her eyes sharp. "What's that supposed to mean?" "It means you don't care if I'm happy. You care if I fit the picture you have in your head. The right job, the right house, the right wife. There's nothing wrong with wanting good things for your child. There is when you define good by the color of someone's skin." The words hung in the air, heavy and unavoidable. Mrs. Hale's face flushed. "I'm not a racist. I didn't say you were, but you're prejudiced, and you're asking me to be prejudiced too. That's not—" "Yes, it is." Ethan stood up. His hands were shaking, but his voice was steady. "Jasmine is kind. She's smart. She's patient. She makes me laugh. She makes me want to be braver. And if you can't see that, that's your problem, not mine." His mother stared at him. For a moment she looked small, vulnerable. "I raised you better than this," she whispered. "No, Mum. You raised me to be polite, to follow rules, to never make waves. But you didn't raise me to be brave. I'm learning that on my own." He walked toward the door. "Ethan, wait." He paused but didn't turn around. I worry about you. People talk. People judge. I don't want you to have a hard life. Life is already hard, Mum, but it's harder when you're living for everyone else." He left. As he got into his car, his hands were still shaking, but underneath the fear there was something else. Pride. For the first time in his life, he'd stood up to his mother, and it felt terrifying and freeing all at once. That weekend, Ethan planned something special. He picked Jasmine up early Saturday morning. She came out wearing jean shorts and a yellow tank top, her curls loose and wild. "Where are we going?" she asked as she got in the car. "You'll see." "That's not an answer." "It's a surprise." Jasmine laughed. "I don't like surprises. You'll like this one." They drove out of town, toward the coast. The windows were down. Music played softly on the radio. Jasmine sang along to a song Ethan didn't know, and he found himself smiling just watching her. After 40 minutes, they pulled into a quiet beach. Not the touristy kind, just sand and waves and a few scattered shells. "A beach picnic?" Jasmine's face lit up. "Yeah." Ethan grabbed a basket and blanket from the trunk. "I thought we could use a day away from everything." They found a spot near the dunes and spread out the blanket. Ethan had packed sandwiches, fruit, chips, and lemonade. Nothing fancy, but Jasmine looked at it like it was a feast. "You did all this?" she asked. "Clara helped with the food. I'm not much of a cook." "It's perfect." They ate and talked and watched the waves roll in. A few seagulls circled overhead, hoping for scraps. Jasmine threw them pieces of bread, laughing when they fought over the crumbs. "Tell me something you've never told anyone," Ethan said, lying back on the blanket. Jasmine lay down beside him, staring up at the sky. "I wanted to be a singer when I was little." "Really?" "Yeah. I used to perform concerts for my stuffed animals. Full productions, costumes and everything." "What happened?" "I got shy, started caring what people thought." She turned her head to look at him. "What about you, secret dreams?" "I wanted to be an astronaut." Jasmine laughed. "That's so random. I liked the idea of being far away from everything, just floating in space where nothing could touch you." "That sounds lonely." "It does, doesn't it?" Ethan smiled sadly. "I think I've spent a lot of my life trying to float away from things instead of dealing with them. And now? Now I'm trying to stay grounded." Jasmine reached over and took his hand. They lay there, fingers intertwined, listening to the ocean. "I talked to my mom," Ethan said after a while. Jasmine sat up. "You did?" "Yeah. Yesterday morning." "How did it go?" "Not great, but I said what I needed to say." He sat up too, facing her. "I told her she was wrong. About you, about us, and that I'm done letting her decide what makes me happy." Jasmine's eyes grew soft. "That must have been hard." "It was, but it felt right." He cupped her face gently. "You changed me without even trying. Maybe you were just ready to see differently." Ethan leaned in and kissed her, slow and deep. Jasmine kissed him back, her hands sliding up to his shoulders. When they pulled apart, the sun was starting to set. Orange and pink painted the sky. "This is my favorite moment," Jasmine whispered. "This one. Right now." "Yeah, right now." Ethan pulled her close. They watched the sunset together, wrapped up in each other, and the sound of the waves. Everything felt perfect, but perfect never lasted. The following Tuesday, Jasmine stopped by a cafe near her apartment to grab lunch. She was meeting Tanya in 20 minutes. She ordered a salad and a tea and found a small table by the window. And then she heard a familiar voice. Mrs. Hale sat 2 tables away with a woman Jasmine didn't recognize. They were having lunch, talking quietly. Jasmine froze. She could leave, walk out before she was noticed. But then Mrs. Hale spoke louder. "He'll come to his senses soon," she said, stirring sugar into her tea. The other woman leaned forward. "You really think so?" "Of course. This is just a phase. Ethan's always been impressionable. His sister puts ideas in his head." "And the girl?" "She's sweet enough, I suppose, but it won't last. These things never do." Jasmine's stomach twisted. She stared at her salad, suddenly unable to breathe. "You're not worried?" the other woman asked. "Why would I be? Ethan knows what's expected of him. He'll realize this isn't practical, and then things will go back to normal." Jasmine stood up. Her chair scraped loudly against the floor. Mrs. Hale looked over. Their eyes met. For a second, Mrs. Hale's expression flickered. Surprise, maybe embarrassment. But Jasmine didn't wait to see. She grabbed her bag and walked out. Outside, the sun felt too bright. Her hands shook as she pulled out her phone. Tanya answered on the second ring. "Hey girl, I'm running 5 minutes late." "She doesn't think I'm going to last." Jasmine's voice cracked. "What? Who?" "His mother. I just heard her, at the cafe. She told her friend that Ethan will come to his senses, that it's just a phase." "Oh, Jasmine, I'm such an idiot." Tears stung her eyes. "I actually thought things were getting better." "They are getting better. With Ethan, not with his mom. But she's always going to be there, always judging, always waiting for him to give up on me. Then he needs to prove her wrong. What if he can't? Jasmine wiped her eyes. What if she's right? She's not right. You don't know that. Tanya sighed. Where are you? I'm coming to get you. I'm fine. You're not fine. Stay there. I'll be there in 10. Jasmine sat on a bench outside the cafe. She stared at her phone. She should text Ethan, tell him what happened, but the words wouldn't come. Instead, she typed something else. Something simple and painful. I need space. She hit send before she could change her mind. Then she sat there crying quietly, while people walked past and pretended not to notice. Ethan stared at his phone. He'd read the message 5 times. Each time, it hurt more. I need space. He called. She didn't answer. He texted. She didn't respond. For 3 days, he heard nothing. The silence was crushing. Work became impossible. He stared at blueprints without seeing them. His boss asked if he was sick. Ethan said he was fine. He wasn't fine. Clara showed up at his apartment Thursday evening, letting herself in with the spare key he'd given her. You look terrible, she said. Thanks. What happened? She asked for space. I don't know why. Did you ask her? She won't answer my calls. Clara sat down beside him on the couch. Then go to her. She said she needs space. Space doesn't mean give up, Ethan. It means give her room to breathe. But you still need to show up. What if she doesn't want me to? Then she'll tell you, but at least you tried. Ethan looked at his sister. What if I messed this up too badly? You didn't. How do you know? Because I see the way she looks at you, and I see the way you look at her. That doesn't just disappear. Clara squeezed his shoulder and stood up. Figure it out, little brother, before it's too late. That night, Ethan couldn't sleep. He lay in bed staring at the ceiling, replaying everything in his mind. The wedding, the dance, the beach, the art fair, the sunset picnic. You changed me without even trying. Maybe you were just ready to see differently. He grabbed his phone and scrolled through his photos. There were dozens now. Jasmine laughing, Jasmine eating ice cream, Jasmine with sand on her feet and wind in her hair. And in every single picture, she looked happy. Until she didn't anymore. Ethan sat up. He couldn't let this end like this. He couldn't let her believe she wasn't worth fighting for. He got dressed, grabbed his car keys. It was almost midnight, but he didn't care. He drove to Jasmine's apartment and sat in his car outside. He wasn't going to knock, not this late. But he texted her, I'm outside. I'm not leaving until you talk to me, even if it takes all night. 5 minutes passed, then 10. His phone buzzed. Go home, Ethan. No, I'm serious. So am I. Another long silence. Then the door to her building opened. Jasmine stood there in sweatpants and an oversized t-shirt. Her hair was pulled into a messy bun. She looked exhausted. Ethan got out of the car. They stood on the sidewalk, 5 feet apart. What are you doing here? Jasmine asked quietly. You said you needed space. I'm giving you space, but I'm not disappearing. Ethan, what happened? What changed? Jasmine crossed her arms. I heard your mother at a cafe, talking to her friend. Ethan's stomach dropped. What did she say? That you'll come to your senses, that this is just a phase, that I won't last. Jasmine? And the worst part? I think she might be right. She's not right. How do you know? Jasmine's voice broke. How do you know you won't wake up one day and realize this is too hard, that I'm too complicated, that it's easier to just move on? Because I love you. The words came out before Ethan could stop them, raw and honest and terrifying. Jasmine stared at him. What? I love you, Ethan said again, quieter this time. I know it's fast. I know we've only been doing this for a few weeks. But I love you, and my mother's opinion doesn't change that. Tears spilled down Jasmine's cheeks. You can't just say that and expect everything to be okay. I know. Loving someone isn't enough if you can't stand up for them, if you can't choose them over comfort. I am choosing you. I did choose you. When I confronted my mother, when I held your hand at the art fair, when I kissed you in front of everyone. Ethan stepped closer. I'm choosing you right now, at midnight, on your street, even though you told me to leave. Jasmine laughed through her tears. You're stubborn. Yeah, I am. This is going to be hard. Your family, my family, people staring, people talking. I know, and I need you to promise me something. Anything. Promise me you won't give up. Not when it gets uncomfortable. Not when people judge. Not when it's easier to walk away. Ethan reached out and took her hands. I promise I'm not going anywhere. Jasmine searched his face, looking for doubt, looking for hesitation. She didn't find any. I love you too, she whispered. I've been trying not to, but I do. Ethan pulled her into his arms. She collapsed against his chest, crying softly. He held her tight, pressing his face into her hair. "I'm sorry," he murmured. "I'm sorry my mother hurt you. I'm sorry you ever doubted this." "Just don't leave," Jasmine said. "Please don't leave." "I won't." They stood there on the sidewalk for a long time. Eventually, Jasmine pulled back and looked up at him. "It's late," she said, wiping her eyes. "You should go home. Can I see you tomorrow?" "Yeah. I'm going to talk to your dad." Jasmine blinked. "What?" "Your dad. I want to meet him properly. Not at a wedding or a party. I want to sit down with him and, I don't know, ask his blessing or something." "Ethan, you don't have to." "I want to." Jasmine smiled, a real smile, the first one in days. "He's going to grill you. I can handle it. He's protective." "Good. You deserve someone who's protective of you." Jasmine kissed him, soft and sweet and full of promise. "Tomorrow," she said. "Come by around 3. I'll text you the address." "Okay." Ethan watched her walk back inside. The door closed. The lights in her apartment flickered on. He got back in his car, his heart pounding. He'd just told her he loved her, and she'd said it back. Now he just had to convince her father he was worth taking a chance on. Friday at 3 o'clock, Ethan pulled up to a small house with a neat front yard. Flowers lined the walkway. A porch swing swayed gently in the breeze. Jasmine's father sat on that porch reading a newspaper. He looked up when Ethan got out of the car. Mr. Cole was a tall man with grey hair and sharp eyes. He wore glasses and a cardigan despite the warm weather. He watched Ethan approach with the kind of expression that gave nothing away. "Mr. Cole?" Ethan said, stopping at the bottom of the porch steps. "You must be Ethan." "Yes, sir. Jasmine told me you were coming." He folded his newspaper and set it aside. "Come on up, have a seat." Ethan climbed the steps and sat in the chair across from him. His palms were sweating. He wiped them on his jeans. Mr. Cole didn't say anything at first, just studied him. Ethan forced himself not to look away. "Why are you here?" Mr. Cole asked finally. "I wanted to meet you, to talk to you." "About what?" "About your daughter. About my intentions." Mr. Cole raised an eyebrow. "Your intentions. That's an old-fashioned word. I'm trying to do this the right way." "And what's the right way?" "Honestly, respectfully." Mr. Cole leaned back in his chair. "Jasmine told me what happened. With your mother." Ethan's chest tightened. "Yes, sir. She also told me you stood up to her." "I did." "Why?" "Because it was the right thing to do, and because I love your daughter." Mr. Cole was quiet for a long moment. Then he leaned forward, his elbows on his knees. "I've been where Jasmine is," he said quietly, "dating someone whose family didn't approve. It's hard, it hurts, and it doesn't always work out." "I know." "Do you? Because love isn't about who you expected to fall for. It's about who you're willing to change for, who you're willing to fight for, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it costs you something." Ethan met his eyes. "I'm willing to fight for her. I already am." "Good." Mr. Cole stood up. "Because if you hurt her, you'll answer to me. And trust me, son, you don't want that." "I understand." Mr. Cole walked to the door and opened it. "Jasmine," he called inside. "Your young man's here." Jasmine appeared in the doorway, her eyes wide. "Dad, what did you say to him?" "Just the truth." Mr. Cole smiled at her. Then he looked at Ethan. "She's at the school auditorium tonight, helping with a concert. You should go." "Thank you, sir." Mr. Cole nodded, and Ethan saw something in his expression that looked almost like approval. As Ethan walked back to his car, Jasmine followed him. "What did he say?" she asked. "That I need to be willing to fight for you." "And?" "And I am." Jasmine smiled. "Then go. I'll see you tonight." Ethan kissed her quickly and got in his car. He had a concert to get to. The school auditorium was old but charming. Wooden floors, velvet curtains, rows of folding chairs filled with parents and grandparents holding cameras. Ethan slipped in through the back door just as the lights dimmed. He found a seat in the last row behind a woman with a large hat. On stage, second graders stood in neat lines, wearing matching white shirts and black pants. They looked nervous and excited. A piano started playing, and there was Jasmine. She stood off to the side helping a little boy adjust his collar. When the music started, she mouthed the words along with the kids, encouraging them with small hand gestures. The children sang a song about stars. Their voices were high and slightly off-key, but the parents didn't care. They clapped and cheered. Ethan watched Jasmine the entire time, the way she smiled when the kids hit the right notes, the way she gently corrected a girl who forgot her place, the way she wiped tears from a boy who got scared and tried to run off stage. She was so good with them, so patient, so full of love. The concert ended. The kids took a bow. Parents rushed forward with flowers and cameras. Ethan stood up and made his way to the front. His heart pounded. He was still wearing his work clothes, dress pants and a button-down shirt. He hadn't had time to change. Jasmine was helping kids find their parents when she saw him. Her eyes widened. "Ethan, what are you doing here? Your dad told me where you were." "He did?" "Yeah." Ethan glanced around. Parents were starting to stare. "Can we talk? Now? Please." Jasmine looked at the kids, then back at him. "Okay, let me just—" "Actually," Ethan said, his voice louder now, "can I say something? To everyone?" Jasmine froze. "What?" Ethan turned to face the crowd. Parents and teachers and kids all looked at him, confused. "Hi," he said. His voice shook. "I'm sorry to interrupt. I need to say something." Jasmine's hand flew to her mouth. "Ethan, what are you— This woman right here," Ethan continued, pointing at Jasmine. "She's been teaching me what love looks like when it costs something, when it's not easy, when it requires you to be brave instead of comfortable." The room was completely silent. Even the kids stopped moving. "I spent most of my life taking the easy road, avoiding discomfort, hiding from hard conversations. But Jasmine showed me that real love doesn't hide. It doesn't shrink, it stands up, even when people are watching, even when people judge." Tears streamed down Jasmine's face now. She shook her head, smiling through the tears. "So I wanted to thank you," Ethan said, looking directly at her, "for being patient with me, for believing I could be better, for not giving up even when I gave you every reason to." Someone in the crowd started clapping, then someone else. Soon the whole auditorium was applauding. Jasmine walked toward him, laughing and crying at the same time. She stopped right in front of him. "You're insane," she whispered. "Probably. That was the most embarrassing thing anyone's ever done for me." "Good embarrassing or bad embarrassing?" "Good." She threw her arms around his neck. "So good." Ethan held her tight, not caring that everyone was watching, not caring about anything except the woman in his arms. Later they sat in Ethan's car in the school parking lot. The auditorium was empty now. Everyone had gone home. The night was quiet, except for crickets chirping. Jasmine had changed out of her work clothes into jeans and a soft sweater. Her makeup was smudged from crying, but Ethan thought she'd never looked more beautiful. "I can't believe you did that," she said, shaking her head. "I meant every word. I know. That's what makes it so terrifying." Ethan turned to face her. "Why terrifying?" "Because now I have to believe it. Have to trust that this is real, that you're not going to change your mind." "I'm not." "You say that now." "Jasmine." Ethan took her hands. "Do you remember what I said at the wedding, when you first walked down the aisle?" She looked down. "You prayed I wasn't your blind date." "Yeah, I prayed wrong that day. I prayed for easy, for comfortable, for something that wouldn't challenge me or make me grow." He lifted her chin gently so she'd meet his eyes. "But if I could go back to that moment, you know what I'd pray for?" "What?" "You, exactly as you are. All the challenge, all the growth, all the discomfort, because you're worth every hard conversation, every judgment, every uncomfortable moment." Jasmine's eyes filled with tears again. "You can't just say things like that." "Why not?" "Because it makes it really hard to protect my heart." "Then don't protect it. Give it to me. I'll take care of it." Jasmine laughed softly. "That's a big promise. I'm good for it." They sat there in the dark car, holding hands. Outside, streetlights flickered on one by one. "What do you pray for now?" Jasmine asked quietly. Ethan smiled. "You. Every day. I pray that I'm worthy of you, that I don't mess this up, that you keep believing in me even when I stumble." "You're worthy," Jasmine whispered. "You just had to start believing it yourself." She leaned over and kissed him. Slow and deep and full of everything they'd been through. All the hurt, all the hope, all the love. When they pulled apart, Ethan rested his forehead against hers. "Come home with me," he said. "Tonight?" "Yeah. We can order pizza. Watch a movie. Just be together." Jasmine smiled. "Okay." They drove to Ethan's apartment. It was small but tidy. Books on shelves, architectural drawings on the walls, a couch that had seen better days. Jasmine kicked off her shoes and curled up on that couch, while Ethan ordered pizza. They picked a comedy movie neither of them had seen and settled in. Halfway through, Jasmine fell asleep with her head on Ethan's shoulder. He didn't move, didn't want to wake her. He just sat there watching her breathe, feeling more content than he'd felt in years. His phone buzzed. A text from Clara. "Mom told me what happened at the cafe. Are you okay?" Ethan typed back with one hand. "Better than okay. Tell you later. Good. Love you, little brother. Love you too." He set the phone down and pulled a blanket over Jasmine. She stirred slightly, mumbling something in her sleep. Ethan smiled. This was worth fighting for. She was worth fighting for. and he wasn't going to stop. 3 weeks passed. 3 weeks of normalcy, of dinners together, of phone calls that lasted hours, of Sunday mornings at the farmer's market and Wednesday nights watching reality TV. Jasmine met Ethan's co-workers at a company barbecue. Some of them stared. Some of them asked rude questions disguised as curiosity. But Ethan never let go of her hand, never pretended she was anything other than the woman he loved. Ethan met more of Jasmine's friends. They grilled him harder than her father had, wanted to know his intentions, his plans, whether he was serious or just curious. He answered every question honestly, and slowly they warmed to him. But there was still one relationship that remained broken, Mrs. Hale. She hadn't called, hadn't texted, hadn't acknowledged Ethan since their argument, and Ethan was fine with that. He didn't need her approval anymore, but Jasmine felt differently. "You should talk to her," she said one evening. They were cooking dinner together in Ethan's kitchen. Jasmine chopped vegetables while Ethan stirred pasta. "I did talk to her. I mean really talk, not just fight. She's the one who hasn't reached out. Maybe she doesn't know how." Ethan set down the spoon. "Why do you care?" "Because she's your mother, and because holding on to anger doesn't help anyone. She hurt you. She did. But I forgive her." Jasmine turned to face him. "Not because she deserves it, but because I deserve peace." Ethan stared at her. "How are you so wise?" "My dad, he taught me that bitterness is like drinking poison and waiting for the other person to die. It only hurts you." "I don't know if she'll listen." "Then at least you tried." Ethan nodded slowly. "Okay, I'll reach out." But he didn't have to. The next Saturday his doorbell rang. Ethan opened it to find his mother standing on his doorstep, holding a bouquet of flowers. "Mom?" "Ethan." Her voice was quiet, uncertain. "May I come in?" He stepped aside. She walked into his apartment, looking around like she'd never seen it before. Maybe she hadn't. She rarely visited. "These are for Jasmine," she said, holding out the flowers. "Gardenias. I remember her saying she liked gardening." Ethan took the flowers, surprised. "She's not here right now." "I know. I wanted to talk to you first." They sat in the living room. Mrs. Hale perched on the edge of the couch, her purse in her lap. She looked smaller than Ethan remembered, older. "I've been thinking," she said finally, "about what you said, about how I raised you." Ethan didn't respond, just waited. "You were right. I did raise you to be polite, to follow rules, to avoid discomfort." She looked at her hands. "I thought I was protecting you, but I was just teaching you to be afraid." "Mom, let me finish." She took a shaky breath. "I was wrong about Jasmine, not because there's anything wrong with my concerns, but because my concerns were based on fear instead of love. You were cruel to her, I know, and I'm sorry. I'm sorrier than you know." Mrs. Hale looked up, and Ethan saw tears in her eyes. "I was raised a certain way, in a certain time, and I know that's not an excuse, but it's hard to unlearn things you've believed your whole life. So, what changed?" "Clara, she came to see me, told me I was going to lose you if I didn't fix this." Mrs. Hale wiped her eyes. "And she was right. I was so busy protecting this idea of what your life should look like that I forgot to care about whether you were happy. I am happy. With Jasmine. I can see that. And I'm asking you to give me a chance to see it too, to really see her. Not as someone you're dating despite who she is, but because of who she is." Ethan felt his own throat get tight. "That's all I've ever wanted." "I know." She reached over and took his hand. "I'm going to do better. I promise." "You hurt her, Mum. You can't just apologize to me and expect everything to be okay." "I know. That's why I want to apologize to her too, if she'll let me." Ethan pulled out his phone and texted Jasmine. "Are you home? My mom wants to talk." 3 dots appeared, then, "Give me 20 minutes." "She said to give her 20 minutes, Ethan told his mother. Mrs. Hale nodded. "Then I'll wait." 25 minutes later, they pulled up to Jasmine's apartment. Ethan had driven his mother over, the gardenias sitting between them. Jasmine answered the door wearing leggings and an old college sweatshirt. Her hair was in a ponytail. She looked nervous. "Mrs. Hale," she said, "please call me Margaret." She held out the flowers. "These are for you, an apology and a beginning." Jasmine took the flowers, surprised. "Thank you. May I come in?" Jasmine glanced at Ethan. He gave her a small nod. She stepped aside. The apartment was cozy, mismatched furniture, plants on every surface, photos on the walls. It was warm and lived in, and completely Jasmine. Mrs. Hale sat on the couch. Jasmine sat across from her in an armchair. Ethan stood by the window, giving them space but staying close. "I owe you an apology," Mrs. Hale said. "A real one." "Okay," Jasmine said quietly. "I was rude to you at dinner. Condescending. I treated you like you had to prove yourself worthy of my son, and that was wrong. Thank you for saying that. I was also wrong at the cafe. I didn't know you were there, but that doesn't excuse what I said. I had no right to dismiss your relationship or assume it wouldn't last." Jasmine's jaw tightened. "That hurt. I know, and I'm sorry. Truly sorry." Mrs. Hale leaned forward. "I won't pretend I understand everything my son is feeling, or that this is easy for me, but I can see that you make him happy, and that's what matters. He makes me happy too. Good. Then we have that in common. We both want him to be happy." Jasmine smiled slightly. "I guess we do." Mrs. Hale stood up. "I should go. I just wanted to say these things in person, to your face, because you deserve that respect." She walked toward the door. Ethan moved to follow, but Jasmine stood up. "Margaret," she said. Mrs. Hale turned. "Would you like to stay for tea?" Mrs. Hale blinked, surprised. "You don't have to." "I know, but I'm offering." For a moment, Mrs. Hale looked uncertain. Then she nodded. "I'd like that very much." Ethan watched as Jasmine led his mother into the small kitchen. They moved around each other carefully at first. Jasmine filled the kettle. "Mrs." Hale found the cups. "Ethan," Jasmine called, "you can go. We're fine." "Are you sure?" She smiled at him. A real warm smile. "I'm sure." Ethan left them there. As he walked to his car, he felt something release in his chest, something that had been tight for months. His mother was trying. Jasmine was forgiving. And maybe, just maybe, this could actually work. An hour later, his phone rang. "You can come back now," Jasmine said. Ethan drove back to her apartment. When he walked in, he found them sitting on the couch together looking at a photo album. His mother was laughing at something. "What's going on?" Ethan asked. "Your mom was just telling me about the time you tried to build a rocket ship and almost burned down the garage," Jasmine said, grinning. "I was 12, and it wasn't a fire, just smoke. Lots of smoke," Mrs. Hale added. She looked at Ethan, and her expression was soft, genuine. "Thank you for giving me a chance to make this right." "Thank Jasmine. She's the one who invited you to stay." "I know." Mrs. Hale stood up and gathered her purse. "I should go. But Jasmine, would you both like to come to dinner next Sunday? Just the four of us. You, Ethan, Clara, and me." Jasmine looked at Ethan. He nodded. "We'd love to," Jasmine said. Mrs. Hale smiled. A real smile this time. Then she hugged Jasmine. It was brief and a little awkward, but it was genuine. After she left, Ethan pulled Jasmine into his arms. "Thank you," he whispered. "For what?" "For being you. For forgiving her. For being stronger than I could ever be. We're all just doing our best." "Your best is pretty incredible." Jasmine laughed and kissed him. "You're not so bad yourself." Sunday dinner at Mrs. Hale's house was different this time. The table was set beautifully. Candles, flowers, good china. But the atmosphere was warmer, lighter. Mrs. Hale asked Jasmine about her work. Really asked. Listened to the answers. She told stories about Ethan and Clara as children. She laughed at Jasmine's jokes. Clara watched it all with barely concealed joy. At one point, she caught Ethan's eye and mouthed, "I told you." After dinner, they sat on the back porch with coffee. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of purple and orange. "This was nice," Jasmine said. "Really nice." "We should do it again," Mrs. Hale said. "Make it a tradition." "I'd like that." Mrs. Hale reached over and patted Jasmine's hand. It was a small gesture, but it meant everything. 2 months later, Ethan and Jasmine stood on the same beach where they'd had their picnic, the same beach where everything had started to change. It was late afternoon. The sun was starting to dip toward the horizon. Ethan had rolled up his sleeves. Jasmine was barefoot, her white sundress blowing in the breeze. "Why did you want to come here?" Jasmine asked. "Because this is where I started to believe I could be different. Better." "You were always good enough, Ethan." "Maybe, but I didn't believe it until you showed me." They walked along the shore, waves lapping at their feet. The water was cool and clear. "Do you remember the wedding?" Ethan asked. "When you first walked down the aisle?" "How could I forget? You looked terrified." "I was, but not for the reasons you think." "What do you mean?" Ethan stopped walking and turned to face her. "I was terrified because I knew, even then, before we'd spoken, before anything. I looked at you and something inside me knew you were going to change my life." Jasmine's eyes grew soft. "That's a lot of pressure for a blind date." "Yeah, but you handled it pretty well." She laughed. "I don't know about that. I spent most of that night thinking you hated me." "I didn't hate you. I was just scared of what loving you would cost me. And now? Now I know it's worth every cost, every hard conversation, every judgment, every uncomfortable moment. He took both her hands. You made me brave, Jasmine. You made me want to be better than the person I was raised to be. You did that yourself. No, we did it together. Jasmine squeezed his hands. So, what do you pray for now? Ethan smiled. The same question she'd asked him months ago, but his answer was different now. I don't need to pray anymore, he said quietly. I got my answer. And what's the answer? You. This. Us. Everything I was too scared to ask for. Jasmine smiled, tears glistening in her eyes. You got your answer anyway. Yeah, I did. They stood there as the sun set behind them, two people who'd started in fear and found courage, two people who'd been hurt and chosen to heal, two people who'd learned that real love didn't avoid discomfort. It walked through it, hand in hand. Ethan pulled Jasmine close and kissed her as the waves crashed around their feet. The ocean stretched out endlessly before them. Behind them, their past, all the mistakes and fears and painful moments. Ahead of them, their future, uncertain but hopeful, imperfect but real. And for the first time in his life, Ethan wasn't afraid of either one, because he wasn't walking alone anymore. They walked back up the beach together, fingers intertwined, leaving footprints in the sand that the tide would eventually wash away. But it didn't matter. They'd walked this path together, and that was something no wave could ever erase. You know what? Jasmine said, leaning her head on his shoulder. What? I'm glad Clara set us up. Ethan laughed. Me too. Don't tell her that, though. She'll never let us forget it. Oh, she already knows. She reminds me every time I see her. Of course she does. They reached the parking lot where Ethan's car waited, but neither of them wanted to leave yet. They sat on the hood, watching the last rays of sunlight disappear. What are you thinking about? Jasmine asked. That day at the wedding, when I prayed you weren't my blind date. You're never going to let yourself forget that, are you? Probably not. It reminds me how close I came to missing this. Missing you. Jasmine turned to look at him. But you didn't miss it. You're here now. That's what counts. You're too forgiving. Maybe. Or maybe I just know that people can change. You proved that. Ethan kissed her temple. We should head home. Okay, but can we come back here? Next month? Make it our place? Every month. Every year. For as long as you'll have me. Jasmine smiled. That might be a very long time. Good, Ethan said. I'm counting on it. They drove home as the stars began to appear in the darkening sky. The radio played softly. Jasmine sang along to a song Ethan still didn't know, and he realized something. He'd spent so much of his life praying for easy, for comfortable, for safe. But safe wasn't the same as happy. Comfort wasn't the same as love, and easy wasn't the same as right. Jasmine had taught him that. Not through words, but through patience, through forgiveness, through the quiet courage of showing up every day and choosing to believe in him. He'd prayed wrong that day at the wedding, but somehow he'd gotten the right answer anyway. The woman sitting beside him humming along to the radio was proof of that, and as they pulled into his apartment complex, Jasmine reached over and took his hand. Thank you, she said softly. For what? For not giving up. On me. On us. On yourself. Thank you for not letting me, she smiled. You're welcome. They walked inside together. No grand gestures, no dramatic declarations, just two people who'd found each other despite their fears, who'd chosen love over comfort, who'd learned that the best prayers weren't always the ones you planned. Sometimes the best prayers were the ones life answered when you weren't even looking, and sometimes the thing you prayed against was exactly what you needed all along.